So square pose. Square pose can be done in a few ways depending on your flexibility. With your legs crossed though, if your knees are up a lot, make sure you sit on some height, and then you may actually want to go to do shoelace pose instead of square pose, if that's the case, until your hips open up. So if the knees are up like this, and there's a lot of pressure on the ankles, then you're not going to be able to come forward enough to do this posture. That being said, if your knees are up a little bit, but you're fairly comfortable here, you can also take blocks, okay, and put them underneath your knees so that they have some support. Okay, so this is an option. And there's two kind of basic shapes for square pose. The one that is, if you're less open in the hips, you can just sit like this. So notice that my ankles are moving towards underneath my knees, but this will again depend on your leg proportion. But crossing your legs to some extent, and we're trying to make a little more, bring them in a little more, make them square. Okay, so it's not sitting like this with the legs out quite a bit. We're trying to narrow them in. So that's why I'm bringing my ankles under my knees. So this is the first variation. So if you're tighter in the hips, you want to take this variation. Again, if your knees do not come down, either tucking a block or maybe a blanket or something underneath the knees so that they have something to rest into. And then you could either stay right here, okay, if you felt a stretch here, or you can start to lean forward. Okay, so this is the first variation. The second variation, just for those of you who are quite open, is to actually lift that leg and put it on top instead of in front. So again though, if you were doing this and your knee is up, then this isn't a good variation for you. You want to go back to where you were, or maybe try shoelace pose instead until the hips open. And it may actually just be a bone structure thing, right? So don't get attached to this knee ever coming down, because it may not, and it may have nothing to do with your flexibility. But for those of you who can, you're going to stack your ankle and let it clear your thigh, and then bring the bottom foot underneath the knee. So again, I'm making this sort of a square shape here, narrowing in. And then again, you can either stay here, or you can fold yourself forward for those of you that are more open in the hips. So this is the variation that I'm going to practice, but if you're less flexible in the hips than I am, which is very likely, you can go to one of the other two variations that I just showed you, whether it be putting some support under the knee, or just dropping that foot down and practicing like this. Or you could do shoelace if this one is just not doable for you yet at this point, okay? So I'm again setting my timer for 5 minutes, but if you are newer to yin yoga, you may want to find a shorter time and set your own timer and just go for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And I'm just going to lean forward. However, if you found that this was a strong stretch here, you could stay right here. So again, there's no need to lean forward if you're already feeling it, but for my body, I need to come forward in order to feel a stretch in the hips. So hit target. Sometimes you might get a nice little stretch in the lower back too. That one's on the house. It's not the point of the pose, but it's a good bonus. And then just softening in as much as you can. Okay, so you're welcome to also take blocks, right? Put them underneath your arms. I often start here, and then if I start to feel like I've opened up more, I move down to the floor, or you could have your elbows on the floor, or you could, just keep your arms extending and let everything be soft. Okay, so finding a variation that's comfortable for you. A bolster, again, another great option for the arms if you need. And then trying again to bring your awareness to your body. Noticing that tendency to mentally check out here. Draw your awareness into the sensations that you're feeling in the hip butt IT band, and either just watching them slowly with your mind's eye. Noticing how they rise and pass. Noticing how it changes moment to moment, breath by breath. Or you can just focus on your breath entirely. Or you can do a combination where you send your breath to the muscles that you're stretching. So just trying to find one of those three to sort of anchor your awareness. Slowly bringing yourself up. Take your time again. You really want to honor and respect and be mindful of that yin yoga rebound that you're going to feel. That urge to moan and groan and move slowly. And then you're going to gradually take your top leg out again in between sides. You're welcome to bring your legs out if that feels right for you, and either just resting in stillness or moving them around. Some people like to just lie right now on their back. You might want to point and flex your feet a little. So whatever your body is asking for you to do would be the right thing for you right now. Okay, so these are just suggestions. Make sure that you honor and listen to what your body instinctually asks for you to do. And when you feel like things have kind of normalized again, which may take longer than me, okay, so I've been practicing for a while, so if you need a longer time to come out of this, then just pause this for a few breaths until you feel like you've come back into your normal shape, and we'll switch sides. This time I'm bringing the right leg across. Again, you can always just bring it in. This is always an option. Put something underneath your knees if you need to, if your knees are up. For me, I'm fairly open in my hips, so this one is accessible for me, although this is my tight side, so you're going to find I won't go as deep on this side. I may use a block underneath my elbows for the first little while. We will see. So again, finding this shape and then folding yourself forward over the leg. Maybe just coming to your hands. Some of you might not even need to fold forward. This might be a lot right here and you're fine here, so that's fine. Or tipping forward a little, or however much you need to do to feel a stretch. Okay? And again, if you're tighter in your hips, or if you don't have this range of external rotation in your hip joint, just because of how your bone structure is, then shoelace pose, which would probably be a better option for you. And again, just bringing your awareness to your body, with your mind's eye, watching your experience. Maybe watching, maybe sending your breath to any little spots here through the hip and through the butt, IT band area that needs some work. Slowly again, bring yourself up, take your time. You can move your leg, take your time, maybe stretching the legs out straight and wiggling them around, or maybe just being still. Okay, so everyone has a different preference. I prefer actually now to just sit in stillness. Okay? But when I first started practicing yin, I really needed to kind of move things around just to make sure they were still attached to my body. Okay, so whatever your body's asking for would be good for you. So whether it's stretching the legs out straight and wiggling the feet and the ankles and tapping the knees, or internally and externally rotating in the hips, or whether you just want to sit in stillness for the next minute and just allow everything to come back into its natural shape. Okay? So I hope you found that helpful. So square pose, again, a great posture for hip, butt, like T-bend, and for some of us we get the bonus of a nice little stretch in the lower back in that pose. If you like this video, take a moment to like it and share it with your friends, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want more videos delivered in your inbox and longer sequences and specialty sequences that I only share with my email list, then take a moment to hop on over to nickdanu.com and sign up for the email newsletter. Thank you so much. Namaste.